Welcome to today's incredible deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the entire world of coin collecting, where the smallest denomination, the humble 1967 1-cent coin, has been reported to reach a staggering value of $14 million because of its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique features that have captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike. A story that combines history, minting anomalies, rarity, condition, and the sheer unpredictability of numismatics to create a legend in modern American coinage. And as we explore this unbelievable journey of how such a simple coin minted over half a century ago could command such an extraordinary value, you will see how errors, varieties, and minting imperfections have transformed ordinary coins into treasures worth more than gold, setting records, sparking debates, and driving an entire industry of collectors to search through pocket change, old jars, and estate sales hoping to uncover their own hidden fortune. Because the 1967 1-cent coin was born in a time of transition, history, and change, a year that carried its own significance in American culture, and it is within that context that its minting process and subsequent errors become not only fascinating but also immensely valuable in the eyes of those who understand the market for rare coins. And to truly appreciate the worth of this coin, we have to go back to the environment in which it was produced. 1967 was part of a period where the United States Mint was struggling with massive coin shortages in the early 1960s, leading to important decisions that altered how coins were produced, one of the most significant being the suspension of mint marks in 1965 through 1967 to discourage coin hoarding. So all coins produced in those years were struck without mint marks. And while this decision was practical at the time, it inadvertently contributed to confusion, varieties, and errors, because identifying a coin's minting origin became impossible for the casual observer, opening the door to mysteries that still excite collectors today. And in the case of the 1967 1-cent coin, those conditions also led to quality control issues, rushed production, and mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. And it is precisely those mistakes that now turn a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact of history, with reports of doubled dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, and even transitional errors, making certain 1967 cents vastly more valuable than their face value. And when we look at how collectors perceive rarity, the truth is that not every 1967 penny is worth a fortune, but those with the most striking and unique errors can command astronomical sums, with one particular specimen believed to have sold privately for $14 million. And the reason it reached such an eye-watering price is not only the presence of multiple errors but also the historical significance of its year, the pristine condition in which it was preserved, and the fierce competition among wealthy collectors to own something truly one of a kind. And when we dive into the types of errors that make this possible, we begin with the double die varieties, where during the die creation process the design elements on the coin are accidentally impressed twice in slightly different positions, leading to visible doubling on the date, the lettering, or even Lincoln's profile. And in the case of the 1967 1-cent double dies are particularly valuable because the mint was under such strain to produce massive quantities that quality checks were sometimes less rigorous, allowing more of these fascinating varieties to be struck, and collectors prize them because the doubling is not just a mistake but a piece of history frozen in metal that represents the imperfect nature of mass production at the time. And then there are the off-center strikes, where a coin fails to align properly with the dies and ends up with part of its design missing or shifted, sometimes dramatically, with values increasing depending on how much of the design is still visible. And a 1967 penny with a 50% off-center strike showing clear details can be worth thousands, but if combined with other errors such as a double strike or an unusual planchet, its value skyrockets into the millions, especially when preserved in near-mint state. And then we cannot ignore clipped planchets, which occur when the blank metal disc is cut incorrectly and part of the coin's edge is missing, creating crescent shapes, straight clips, or even ragged edges. And though common in some years, in 1967 they carry higher value because of the reduced mint oversight and the historical interest in coins from the mid-1960s. And when one such clipped planchet penny also shows a doubling effect, the rarity becomes exponential, and the value can be unimaginable. And still another error is the broad strike, where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands beyond its normal boundaries, leading to a distorted but fascinating version of the coin. And these broad strikes are particularly eye-catching to collectors because they stand out instantly in a collection, making them highly sought after. And when you add to this the possibility of transitional errors, such as being struck on a leftover planchet from a different denomination or year, you realize just how endless the possibilities are for something extraordinary to be created by sheer accident. and one of the most rumored stories around the 1967 penny is that a tiny number may have been struck on silver-colored planchets left over from nickel or dime production, a mistake that would instantly turn a coin into a holy grail, because such a hybrid error combines rarity, mystery, and visual uniqueness, all of which drive collectors into bidding wars. And this is where the psychology of collecting intersects with the reality of rarity, because when only one or two examples of such an error are known, they essentially become priceless, valued not just for their metal but for their narrative, their journey through history, and the prestige of owning something no one else can have. And this is how we arrive at that incredible $14 million figure, because it is not simply a coin being sold, it is a piece of art, history, and luck rolled into one small copper disc. And when a wealthy collector with both passion and resources decides they must have it, the price tag becomes irrelevant, and the coin takes on the aura of legend. And to truly understand how coins like this escalate in value, you have to consider how auctions work, where bidders fuel each other's determination and rarity drives the emotional appeal. And when a 1967 1-cent coin with extraordinary errors came up for sale in immaculate condition, preserved in a protective holder, authenticated by professional grading services, and promoted as one of the most unique pennies ever discovered, it ignited a frenzy of interest, and in that environment a coin that might logically be valued at hundreds of thousands can leap into the millions, because for collectors at the highest level the chance to own something unique is worth more than any market estimate. And that is why this story resonates so strongly, because it is not just about money, it is about the human desire to connect with history, to find beauty in imperfection, and to possess something that represents rarity in its purest form. And when you hold a 1967 penny, you may think of it as ordinary, but the truth is that within its production there lies the potential for greatness, because errors are the windows into the minting process, revealing how machines, people, and circumstances combine to create something unrepeatable. And that is why collectors search tirelessly, examining every detail, every scratch, every doubling, hoping to be the next person who uncovers a coin capable of rewriting numismatic history. And so this tale of the 1967 1-cent coin worth $14 million is both a warning and an inspiration, a warning that not all coins are equal and that only the rarest, most extraordinary specimens reach such values, but also an inspiration that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places, that a penny pulled from circulation could hold secrets capable of changing a life. And as we close this fascinating exploration, remember that numismatics is about more than money, it is about curiosity, passion, and discovery. And whether you are a seasoned collector or just starting out, stories like the 1967 1-cent coin should remind you that history is always closer than you think, sometimes sitting quietly in your pocket change, and who knows, the next fortune might be waiting in your hands right now. So keep looking, keep collecting. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey through the story of a tiny coin that became worth $14 million, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable stories from the world of coins and treasures, and join us again for the next adventure into history's hidden fortunes. Next, today's exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, where a seemingly ordinary 1991 cent coin has taken on a legendary status with a value reaching an incredible $6 million because of the errors, mistakes, and oddities that make it not just a piece of everyday pocket change but a true treasure worth studying, understanding, and perhaps even hunting for in your own collections or loose change. So settle in as we explore every possible detail of how and why this coin has become such a big money marvel, starting with the simple fact that the 1990 penny belongs to an era in American coinage where the transition from traditional metal compositions and minting techniques into more modern methods created a perfect storm of opportunities for mistakes to happen and slip past quality control into circulation. And collectors have since discovered that errors ranging from doubled dies to off-center strikes, from wrong planchet strikes to design anomalies, can take a coin from being worth just 1 cent to millions, and the 1990 penny embodies this phenomenon in such a dramatic way that it has become a legend in numismatic circles. For example, one of the most famous varieties from this year is the 1990 Northwest Mint Mark Lincoln Center, which was accidentally produced by the Philadelphia Mint without its identifying letter, an omission that at first glance seems small but when combined with the rarity of its occurrence becomes highly prized among collectors. And when you add to this the possibilities of double die obverse, where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln shows a slight but unmistakable doubling around his eye, his profile, or the lettering in the motto, "In God We Trust," suddenly you are looking at a coin that transforms from being one of the billions struck in 1990 into a coin worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, and in the most pristine condition with the right combination of errors the market has shown that prices can skyrocket into the millions, which explains how some very rare specimens have been estimated at values as high as $6 million, and the appeal doesn't just come from one error alone but from the stacking of multiple anomalies that make certain examples of the 1990 penny essentially unique in the world. Another key area where mistakes can drive up value is in the planchet errors, where instead of striking the coin on the proper copper-plated zinc planchet that had been in use since 1982, some 1990 cents may have been struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years, or even on foreign coin blanks intended for other denominations or countries, and these wrong planchet errors create dramatic differences in weight, color, and metal content that instantly attract advanced collectors willing to pay a fortune to secure them. And then there are striking errors such as off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned with the blank, creating a coin that shows only part of Lincoln's portrait or part of the reverse design with the Lincoln Memorial partially cut off. These can range from minor misalignments worth a few dollars to extreme 90% off-center strikes that are spectacular and extremely valuable. Die cracks and die breaks also appear on 1990 cents, where the pressure of striking millions of coins causes fractures in the die that leave raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface, and some of these so-called cud errors are dramatic enough to obscure parts of the design, making them instantly collectible, and when such an error combines with another like a missing mint mark or a double die, you suddenly have a one-of-a-kind piece. Another important aspect is condition, because not all error coins are equal, and for a 1990 cent to be worth millions it usually needs to be in extraordinary condition with sharp details, bright luster, and minimal marks, often graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. At the highest levels such as MS67 or MS68, and such grades are exceptionally rare for a coin that saw mass circulation, which means the perfect storm of rarity, error, and condition all align to create astronomical values. And this is why the 1990 penny is so exciting to collectors, because it represents the possibility that hidden among billions of ordinary cents are a few extraordinary survivors, and beyond the technical errors there is also the story element, because coins like these capture the imagination of people by representing not just a mistake but a tangible artifact of history, a reminder of how even in the precision-driven world of the United States Mint, human error, machine wear, and unexpected circumstances can still create treasures, and so collectors spin stories of how these rare coins may have slipped into circulation by accident, been overlooked in pockets and drawers for decades, and only later rediscovered to stun the numismatic world with their values, fueling the dream of treasure hunting in everyday change, which is why so many people today look at their pennies closely, hoping to spot the telltale signs of doubling, missing marks, or unusual weight, because you never know if you could be holding one of the $1 million 1990 cents. And while skeptics may dismiss the idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth $6 million, the truth is that collectors have repeatedly proven willing to pay extraordinary sums for the rarest and most unusual specimens, and auction records show that as soon as a coin is recognized as unique, iconic, and tied to an important story in numismatic history, bidding wars can drive prices to shocking heights, meaning the 1990 cent is not just a piece of metal but a symbol of the passion, competition, and desire that drives collectors to pursue these treasures. And when you consider the different error types, double dies, missing mint marks, wrong planchets, off-center strikes, die breaks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, struck through errors where foreign material like a piece of cloth or wire was caught between the die and the planchet, leaving a dramatic impression on the coin, you realize that the universe of possibilities for the 1990 penny is vast, and each possibility increases the potential for extreme value, making the search endlessly fascinating. And to put it into perspective, imagine finding a coin in your pocket that looks slightly strange. Maybe the lettering seems thicker or blurred, or Lincoln's eye looks doubled, and realizing that this tiny detail could transform a cent into a $6 million payday. This is the magic of error coins, and why the 1990 cent is talked about with such awe, because while billions of ordinary examples exist, it is the few flawed masterpieces that hold the attention of the numismatic world, and as time goes on and more coins are lost, damaged, or forgotten, the surviving error coins become even scarcer, driving their values higher still. Which means the 1990 cent is not just a collector's item but also an investment and a piece of history rolled into one. And so whether you are a seasoned collector with years of experience or someone just starting out with a jar of pennies at home, the story of the 1990 penny serves as inspiration that incredible discoveries are still out there waiting to be found. And the thrill of possibly uncovering one of these $1 million treasures is what keeps the hunt alive, because in the end the true value of the 1990 penny is not just in its $6 million price tag but in the excitement, curiosity, and hope it brings to everyone who holds a penny in their hand and wonders what story it might tell. So always keep your eyes open, study the details, and maybe, just maybe, your next find could change your life forever. And if you enjoyed exploring this journey with me today, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of coins and treasures. Because you never know what small piece of change might turn out to be worth a fortune. Last. Today's deep dive into the fascinating world of coin collecting, rare discoveries, and the incredible stories that transform ordinary pocket change into million-dollar treasures. And in this video we are going to explore the remarkable tale of the 1995 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that might appear on the surface as a simple penny minted in Denver in 1995 but is rumored in collector circles to have a jaw-dropping value of $13 million due to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and possibilities that make it so valuable. And as we take this journey together, we will uncover not only the physical attributes and minting anomalies that contribute to its worth, but also the historical context, the market forces, and the wild allure of numismatic mystery that elevates a humble copper-plated zinc cent into a legendary collectible worth more than most homes, yachts, or sports cars. And it all begins with understanding just what the 1995 D penny is and why collectors obsess over its every detail. For in 1995 the United States Mint struck millions upon millions of Lincoln cents at the Denver Mint, most of which entered circulation and passed unnoticed from hand to hand in change jars, cash registers, and piggy banks. But within this ocean of ordinary copper-plated coins, a few pieces emerged carrying unusual features, errors born out of the minting process, misalignments, doubling, planchet issues, or die deterioration that made them instantly stand apart, and those rare survivors became the holy grail for coin hunters, because while a normal 1995 D penny is only worth face value, one carrying a dramatic error can command extraordinary prices at auction. And when such a coin acquires legendary status with rumors of a $13 million sale or estimate, the world pays attention. So what exactly makes these mistakes so special? Let us imagine first the possibility of a double die, one of the most famous varieties in American coinage history, where the coin's design elements appear to have been struck twice with a slight shift, causing visible doubling on the date, the lettering, or the motto. And while the Philadelphia Mint in 1995 produced a famous double die cent recognized by collectors for its dramatic doubling in the word liberty and I in God we trust, the Denver Mint examples were fewer and much harder to find, making any 1995 D penny with doubling an extremely rare prize. And if such a piece combined bold doubling with another mint error such as an off-center strike or a broad strike, then its value could skyrocket. Collectors imagine scenarios where a 1995 D double die with clean preservation and mint state condition surfaces at auction and causes a bidding war, driving the price into the millions. And then there are striking errors, those moments when the coin was not properly centered in the press or the planchet failed to seat correctly, leading to off-center strikes where part of the design is missing but the date and mint mark remain visible. And the more dramatic the off-center percentage while still retaining identifying marks, the higher the value, with some collectors willing to pay fortunes for coins that showcase these rare flaws so vividly. And then we move into planchet errors, the very blank metal discs used to strike coins, where sometimes foreign planchets intended for other denominations are fed into the press, producing off-metal errors such as a penny struck on a dime planchet or a cent struck on a copper blank when the standard composition was copper-plated zinc. And for the 1995 D cent, such a discovery would be phenomenal, because transitional or off-metal errors represent once-in-a-lifetime finds that send shockwaves through the coin community. And it is not just the striking and planchet errors that matter, but also die errors such as die cracks, cuds, and breaks, where parts of the design are marred by the deterioration of the minting tools, leaving raised lines, blobs, or missing sections of the design. And these features, when dramatic and clear, can elevate a common cent into a high-value collectible, especially if they occur in rare spots like across Lincoln's face, through the date, or around the mint mark. And when we consider all these possibilities, doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, wrong planchets, we begin to see how a single coin can transform into a $13 million marvel if it combines multiple errors, remains in pristine uncirculated condition, and acquires the notoriety of rarity and demand. And of course, condition plays a central role in value, because collectors prize coins that remain unblemished, showing their original mint luster without scratches, stains, or wear. And a 1995 D error coin in gem mint state could be exponentially more valuable than a circulated example. And this is where third-party grading services come into the picture, with companies like PCGS and NGC providing authentication and grade certifications that solidify the coin's market standing, and when a coin is graded at MS67 or MS68 with an error designation, it becomes virtually priceless, for only a handful in the world might exist at that level, and here lies the psychology of collectors who drive the price skyward, because in numismatics rarity plus demand equals astronomical value, and when demand is fueled by the aura of mystery, rumors, and record-breaking auction headlines, the sky truly is the limit. So when we say the 1995 cent is worth $13 million, it is not just about a simple mistake but about the entire ecosystem of collecting, where stories and provenance matter as much as the physical object. And imagine the story of someone finding such a coin in their pocket change, tucked away for decades in a coffee can, then bringing it to a coin show only to be told it could be worth millions. The sheer drama of that journey is what keeps people fascinated, and that fascination becomes self-reinforcing, making the coin even more valuable. And beyond the technical errors and condition, there are historical factors too, because the 1990s represented an era of technological transition at the mint where processes were being refined, yet errors still slipped through, making error coins of this period especially captivating. And when those coins tie into a popular series like the Lincoln cent, which has been collected avidly for generations, the demand multiplies, and within the Lincoln cent series itself, varieties and errors hold a special allure because nearly every collector begins their journey with pennies, making the leap from pocket change to million-dollar rarity feel almost accessible, and thus the legend of the 1995 $13 million cent is born. And to fully appreciate its mythical status, we should also consider market trends in rare coins, where auctions regularly feature coins that fetch staggering sums, like the 1943 copper cent that sold for hundreds of thousands, or the 1913 Liberty Head nickel valued in the millions. And when collectors see precedents like these, the idea of a 1995 cent reaching $13 million no longer seems far-fetched. It seems possible, and as collectors we must also consider the human element, the excitement of chasing such a treasure, the thrill of inspecting rolls of pennies, magnifying glasses in hand, searching for the double die or off-center strike, the stories of those who discovered fortune in the most unlikely of places, and the unifying passion that binds numismatists across the world. And as we keep exploring the errors in greater detail, picture the double die once again, with the words "I and God We Trust" boldly split, the letters doubled in such a dramatic way that even an untrained eye can spot it without magnification, the kind of error that makes the coin instantly legendary. Or picture a broad strike where the collar that normally restrains the planchet during striking fails, causing the design to expand outward into a misshapen but fascinating form. And collectors love these because they visually tell the story of the minting mishap. Or envision a coin struck with two different dies, a mule error, where obverse and reverse designs that were never meant to pair together accidentally align, creating a Frankenstein-like coin that is priceless due to its uniqueness. And though mule errors are rare in cents, the very possibility excites collectors, because every time you examine a coin you wonder, could this be the one? And with the 1995 cent we imagine all these scenarios converging into one mythical piece, the perfect storm of error, rarity, and demand, a coin so special that when it finally hits the market it commands a price of $13 million, and the imagination does the rest, fueling the coin's legend for future generations. So whether it is the dramatic double die, the rare off-center strike, the off-metal error, the dramatic die crack, or the combination of multiple mistakes, the 1995 1 cent represents the ultimate treasure hunt, reminding us that even the smallest denomination in US currency can carry stories worth millions. And if you are a collector or even just curious, the lesson here is to check your change, look closely at every coin, because treasures do not always announce themselves. Sometimes they hide in plain sight, waiting for the trained eye in the right moment to reveal their true worth. And perhaps one day someone watching this will stumble across the next great discovery. And when that day comes, the legend of the 1995 cent will live on, proving once again that in numismatics history, error, rarity, and passion combine to create fortunes. So keep hunting.